Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Gripe, the show for short, sweet reviews of new release movies, plus the one thing that annoyed me the most. And today I'm going to be talking about the film Hidden Figures. The space race is in full swing as NASA works to put the first American into space. But they can't do it without the help of three women who have to overcome the challenges of surviving in a world dominated by men and the chains of segregation in Virginia. The film stars Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe, Kevin Costner, Kirsten Dunst, Jim Parsons, Mahershala Ali, Glenn Powell, Aldous Hodge, and Olet Krupa. And the film is directed by Theodore Melfi. It feels like it's been a while since there's been a history film this accessible. Hidden Figures tells a critical story about three women who contributed greatly to NASA in the 1960s. And at the core, it's a biography and a lesson on the early days of the space race. But it also achieves something greater, showing the contribution of these black women in an industry that was stereotypically male-dominated in a time where the civil rights fight was still raging. This movie breaks a lot of rules in that sense, and it utterly destroys the Bechdel test. Much of the success of the film relies on its cast, which is impressive. Taraji P. Henson plays Katherine Johnson, née Goebel, and she's the main focus of the story. She's this brilliant mathematician prodigy who is integral in calculating the flight paths for the first men in orbit. Henson is a great actress, an Oscar-nominated actress, and she's definitely powerful in this role, which gave her a lot of opportunity for range. Octavia Spencer plays Dorothy Vaughan, who is the first black supervisor at NASA as well as being a mathematician. And as expected from an Oscar winner, she is absolutely phenomenal and dominating. She just has a very dominating presence on screen. Janelle Monáe plays kind of the funniest of the three, Mary Jackson, who's an engineer in training. The only other movie I've seen her in is Moonlight, but she does an absolute great job here. The rest of the cast is solid as well. Kevin Costner is Kevin Costner, but he plays his role well. And Kirsten Dunst plays the cold supervisor extremely well. Mahershala Ali is just delightful, even though his role in this film is very small and he seems to disappear in the second half of the film. My only criticism might be from Jim Parsons, and that's only because even his character seems a little confused about his motivations. The direction isn't anything special, although there are some very powerful moments from the actors. The visual effects are a bit weak, though this isn't meant to be a CGI blockbuster. They even use real footage from the launches in the 1960s. But I did notice that the scenes of John Glenn inside the pod were kind of cheesy. However, I really did enjoy the music in this film, both the modern tracks as well as the classic music. Where the music appeared in the film really did fit those moments. But definitely where this movie succeeds is in the subconscious things you only notice if you're looking for them. And definitely the focus on female protagonists in a science math field is sadly rare in film. But I do have a pretty big key gripe. Despite breaking a lot of rules, much of the success gets lost in the story, because the story is focused on the situation and the setting and not so much on the women themselves. Part of that might be because they wanted to tell the story of all three women at the same time, and that makes it really difficult to get very deeply into each character and their lives. And that plot-heavy approach makes it feel kind of generic at times. It definitely has a lot of cliches. You have things like the sniveling coworker, the aloof boss, the aggressive rival, etc. Those type of cliches that you see in a movie like this. Even the plot itself is kind of paint by numbers, doubting them before relying on them for the big finish. I couldn't help but think of a movie like A League of Their Own. It's a true story, but it has so much drama added to it, and it's kind of cookie cutter so that you really don't get the full effect of what they did. And I think that's important because this is a very important story for American history. And while the film does show it, it doesn't show the women themselves very deeply. This is a movie that could be shown in classrooms, and that's both a good and a bad thing. I just wish they had showed more about how these events and this situation really affected their lives, but that might not be as family friendly because the setting was sterilized quite a bit. Overall, there is no denying the inspirational story here. The film breaks so many rules for major motion pictures, which is exactly what you want with a story like this. But the film itself plays it too safe, making it more accessible to a wide audience. And while that isn't a bad thing for widespread appeal, it does hurt it from becoming a great film, something that will stay in the conversation for years. I'm giving this movie an 8 out of 10 for being an inspirational and important story, but a movie that could have done better justice to these three amazing women. Let me know your thoughts on the film Hidden Figures if you liked it or didn't like it. And that does it for this episode of Gripe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Nice work. Good job. If you like what you saw, you can just go ahead and click that subscribe button for all videos past and future. You can also head over to my website and see all the other stuff that I do, including the books I've written. So go ahead, click stuff.